Okay, looks like I'm live. Okay, this is my first time doing this. This is kind of exciting. So my name is Jason McChristian. You probably already know that. And let's see, what I'm going to do here is work from my Sibelius notation software program and work along in a composition that I've been working on for about a week now. As you can see here, it's titled FRAZETTA Suite, and this particular movement is titled Egyptian Queen. And what I'm going to do is continue to compose on it, continue to orchestrate, edit. At this point, much of the music has been composed. I'm going to scan to the end of the piece here. And this is essentially the ending. It's about a 3-minute work. And so most of the music has been figured out. I know where the themes are going to be, what much of the background is going to be like. So at this point, I'm really just sort of clean up some of the orchestration, making sure things are exactly where they should be. Occasionally, some creative ideas, that is sort of ideas that I'm just sort of creating on the fly, will happen, but mostly this is pretty much set in stone. I'll be making changes to things like dynamics and maybe some articulation decisions as well. Yeah, and then also some editing, like I said. If you are watching this, feel free to post some comments and let me know what you think about the music. If you see some things that I'm perhaps missing editing-wise, go ahead and throw that in. I would really appreciate any sort of constructive criticism. Okay. I'll try to speak as much as I can as I'm going through this process. I don't usually talk a lot as I compose, as you can imagine. I don't think many people do. This is a new thing for me, so we'll see how it goes. I'm also checking in to make sure that the video is in fact live. So if you hear me, or if you don't hear me, that might be also what's going on. Okay. So let me get to the actual piece here. Like I said, it's titled FRAZETTA Suite, and this movement is going to be one of several movements. I haven't decided exactly how many just yet, but they are all based on paintings by the artist Frank Frazetta, and I've already chosen from several of his works of art that I find inspiring and compelling to write music for. And that also, they sort of create a narrative of their own. If you're not familiar with him, I would suggest looking up Frank Frazetta's work. And right now, the movement that I'm working on is Egyptian Queen. I didn't want to decide on the compositions just yet, or at least, sort of set in stone which works I'm going to be writing for. I wanted to see where my inspiration goes. Some of the artworks that I've chosen I've already waned interest in. Others I'm fully going to compose to. There's really just amazing works. There's one in particular called Silver Warrior. Check that out. I think it's absolutely stunning work of art. It features polar bears and ice and amazing blue background and a typical Frazetta soldier or character on a sled being pulled by these polar bears. It's just visually striking, and to me just screams music. So yeah, that's the plan so far. I find his artwork just really compelling and amazing. Would be amazing to have music written for it. To me, this is going to be kind of like pictures at an exhibition by Modest Mussorgsky. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to, Daniel joined. Thanks, Daniel. Again, if you have any input on what you're seeing here, let me know. I'd be happy to consider it in the composition. Okay, let me begin. One of the things I wanted to tackle in this piece is I laid down a percussion ostinato, if you will. And I originally had timpani accompanying the tom-tom. What I need to do is, I decided to remove a lot of the timpani, at least the parts that are playing exactly what the tom is going to play. And I just want to make sure that those pitches that I'm leaving now in the timpani are going to work. I'm hearing here this E flat may not be what I'm looking for. I'll tell you what, Daniel, since you're on, I'm going to play the music, and if you could, just let me know if you're hearing the music play back. All right, here's the taste. All right. When you get a chance to listen to that in the video, I would really appreciate a response. Thanks. In the meantime, let's continue. So I'm going to take a look at the timpani parts here. Again, thanks for your patience as I work through this. This is my first time going live and first time sharing the screen, so it's kind of interesting. And really the first time I've composed in front of other people. It's kind of nerve-wracking. But we'll see how it goes. All right, so timpani part, I have some E flats here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a quick listen with some of the instruments and see how it fits. Harmonically it fits. D flat might be a better choice. Okay, I don't like how this resolves here, so I'm going to just remove all of this for now. And I'm going to use the timpani to help propel this crescendo, which I only have scored right now on the brass. I don't think everybody else needs to be involved in it. Okay. So I'm going to go with the D flat here, and I'm going to copy it into the timpani. Oh, excuse me. Let's do the timpani. Let's go ahead and add some slashes here for a roll symbol. Give a starting dynamic. Looks like piano is appropriate. Okay, let's give a listen along with the ensemble and see if it produces the sound I want. Okay, rather than starting at this point, I'm going to delay it a bit. You'll notice the work is in 7/8. I was originally in 3/4, 7/8, just having this little skip on the end felt more interesting to me. All right, so I'm going to let the timpani just sort of come in at the last moment, give a push. I would also like to give the timpani a downbeat along with the horns. So I'm going to go with C. I'm assuming the timpanist is working with 4 drums, since this will be a multi-movement work. 2 may only be necessary if this particular movement is performed alone. And you'll notice I'm not working in a transposed score at the moment. It's the score in C. Any other possible pitch? I get a little bit nervous when I start to put pitches of the timpani close to each other. If the work were more had a more involved timpani part, that would make me more nervous. But right now I think it's okay. I could rely on the 2 looks like middle drum and middle high drum for the D flat, and they could be tuned here. And the timpanist, as you see, will have plenty of time to be set up. I'm trying to consider if I want timpani elsewhere. I think that's enough, actually. The timpani part obviously looks boring right now, and that is something that a composer ought to be concerned about. But knowing that this is a multi-movement work, I'm going to have lots of room to be able to give the timpani a lot more interesting stuff. Not too bad. I'm actually going to cut these C's out here. Again, they were a relic from my original ostinato, where I had the timpani just simply mimicking what the tom-toms were doing. Or excuse me, the tom-tom. It's actually just one tom. In percussion, I have sleigh bells, tom, and a bell. And I actually am giving a lot of freedom to the player. I'm just calling it a small bell. And so I say here, any small resonant bell, single mark tree bell, it could be a finger symbol or a triangle, something along those lines. Pitched, unpitched, doesn't really matter. I mean, they're ultimately going to be pitched. All right. So let me go through a little bit more here. Let's listen to the entire moment here with the timpani, make sure it fits the way I want. I'm not sure. I think I might not want to let it ring. To be honest with you, I haven't decided what to do with it yet. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Come back to it. Continue to edit a little bit on these. And I'm going to get a downbeat here for the tom. You can see that these are correct here. She all mezzo forte. Okay. Continuing on. I wanted to remove this double bar line that was originally had a key signature there. I'm not sure why. So let me delete the double bar. I like to say the double bar is only for key changes and dramatic tempo changes. I used to put them all for any tempo change, even things like odd tempo, but I find that that's actually more distracting than is necessary. Okay. I wrote 2T up here to remind myself that, so one of the things that I like to do is go through a composition and see where everybody should be playing. Basically, if half the ensemble is playing loud, I don't see any other reason other than just color to limit it to just half the ensemble. So I like to give it to make sure that an entire ensemble is playing at a given section. And so what I'll do is I'll go through a work of mine and make sure that there are sections where everybody is getting a chance to play. This stems from an experience I had when I was starting out composing, and I wrote for band, and there was literally 4 measures where everybody was supposed to be playing, except for some reason I made a mistake and I just didn't give the English horn anything to play. And I saw the look on their face as I was conducting them and just said to myself, what was I thinking? I mean, there's no color reason to leave out one instrument when everybody's playing. There was no practical reason for it. And all it did, it was result in one player sitting there and just kind of going, okay, why am I not involved? You know. So I decided that from that point on that I would mark sections in my music to remind me that, oh yes, I want the entire ensemble playing here. So here's an example here at on page 6. Measure 35. This was another place where I had 2D marked. And so I made sure that everybody's playing. And I try to get all the way down to even each percussionist having something to do. This doesn't work in all cases. Percussion can dramatically change the flavor of a work. But I think that in this case, in this work at least, it is appropriate. Okay, I got a couple more people viewing. This is pretty awesome. I appreciate it. In this work at least, oh, sorry, I was listening to myself. That's a little weird. All right. So let me delete tutti here because I managed to get everybody to play there. Again, very easy to miss. Especially, you know, when it comes to, I hate to say it, when it comes to tenor sax, bari sax, bass trombone, these are instruments that I tend to not be writing specifically for. I'll kind of, as I'm composing, I'll throw music down onto staves, and sometimes those instruments get missed. So what I'd like to do, in fact, is go through and kind of isolate the bass trombone part. You know, my trombonists out there will be happy about this. I'm going to look at the bass trombone part and see if there are moments where I could have the instrument double or be in octaves from the first trombone. See, right now, only a few moments of playing. Now, again, this is a multi-movement work, so I'm not too concerned about the player getting bored. But I do like to offer my suites as having their movements be played individually. So in that case, I'm going to want to give that player a little bit more to do. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have the bass trombone actually double up on, let's go with the second trombone. Yeah, I like that. Okay. I'm going to make the trombone part a little bit more interesting here too, to double up with the baritones and the tuba part. And you'll notice that the sound playback is muted, which is what I'm going for. So therefore the bass trombone also needs to be muted. And this forte should be abrupt. Yeah, it should be right at that pickup. That has to do with the theme. Theme has a pickup, so they're going to join in on this. Now that means I get to remove this forte, but leave the others. Okay, and they'll hopefully clip that tie for a breath. I'm sure they'll need one. Bass trombone doesn't necessarily need it. He has room here, or she. And also earlier on, I mentioned for the parts to stagger, breathe if needed. Stagger, breathe. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm going to let the trombones know that they're allowed to stagger, breathe if needed. And bass trombone, same thing here as well. And continue with the bass trombone part. I feel like this, I could double up here with the bass trombone. I feel like it's a little bit high. Not that bass trombones can't play higher up, but it just seems a little bit inappropriate for the instrument. I do have it here down an octave on the tuba. Yeah, I'm going to leave bass trombone out there. Sorry, guys. Okay, and I think that's going to be it. All right, let's take another look now at the tenor and bari sax. I mentioned that these are instruments that can get ignored. They're playing with the altos here. Okay, it looks fine. No saxes there, saxes all there. You know what? This is actually, that's plenty. I've even given the tenor sax something to do all by him or herself. So, all right. You'll notice I have a lot of collisions going on here. In fact, it's so bad that Sibelius is screaming red at me. This is because I'm not working from a transpose score. If I click this button here, bam, transpose. Now you'll still see there are collisions. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to reduce my flute 1 and flute 2 and place them on the same staff. What I want to do is take a quick look at, at their parts and make sure that they will make sense on one staff. I had recently, my last composition that I finished, well, actually, it's still being edited, I should say. The two parts, the flute 1 and flute 2, were quite independent and just would not work on the same staff. But you know what? This is looking like it'll work because they're playing unison anyhow. The occasional moment where it's just flute 1 or maybe just flute 2. So I'm going to combine them. I'm going to leave both up for now and treat flute 1 as if I have both. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place, that's not what I want to say, 1 up here. Another issue this brings up is how we say one instrument, sorry, flute 1 or flute 2. In some instances, actually in earlier works, I would do, I would create a second voice, have a measure rest, and I would go so far as to do this. And all of their information for flute 1 would be at the top. I might even say, I might even put these two together and say 1 and then give the dynamic and then give the instruction here. And that way all the stems up are flute 1 and then this rest is flute 2. Of course, this would be changed to just FL, 1 plus 2, or 1 comma 2. And that to me is very clear for the conductor. It's very clear, but I'm starting to wonder if this isn't just as clear. There are a lot of scores out there, a lot of composers prefer this method, I think ultimately because it's just easier and quicker to do. So I think with this suite, with this composition, I'm going to go with this method. But I fear when I get into the clarinets and the horns, it's going to be less clear. Let me see if I can give an example. Okay. So here at measure 39, I'm saying, okay, now this is just the second horn. Second horn plays. Then here in this measure, I'm not sure what it is right off the bat, 40, 41, 2, 43. The second horn now plays this bottom B flat, and the first horn plays the E flat. Then I introduce a dynamic. Now, in the part for the second horn, I would not need to put the second dynamic necessarily. I don't think that this is enough space to make that necessary. But to me, it's just a little bit confusing on the score. So this is an example of a situation where I might want to actually put a second voice rest down here. Okay, so as you can tell, this is something that I'm still questioning. Either way, my flutes are going to end up on one staff. So let me go ahead and go through that and get it to look a certain way. So both flutes are playing this line. There's a little bit of a difference here. So what I'm going to do, there's a couple ways to do this. I could simply combine the voices. I hate when it does that. All right. Okay, that was a long way to deal with that. I don't like the way this looks, to be completely honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select just the bottom notes. Actually, I'm going to select all the bottom notes, yeah. Make it a second voice. Oh, let's get out of the menu. Okay. By the way, this should also be, oh boy, I've got myself stuck in a jam here. Okay, there we go. Should have a slur on it. Should have a slur. I hate the way these slurs work. Got to figure out a new method. I was looking at some 4A today, and noticing that the slurs were marked like this. I'm going to consult my Elaine Gould book and see what she says about slurs and if this is okay. But Sibelius default setting, which of course doesn't mean it's right, default setting says to do that, and I've seen this in other books. It just irks me the wrong way. All right, but either way, I'll consult that and get back to you perhaps. I'm going to make sure, so I've got two voices here on one staff. Flute 1 is stems up, flute 2 is stems down. Sibelius denotes them as blue and green, which is really helpful. And I think it's more clear. I think it's more clear for the conductor what's going on. When it comes time for creating parts, it'll be easier to extract that. So I'm going to work with it that way. All right, so this I'm just going to label as A2. And I'm saying that both flutes are to play that line. Okay, and they're also, it's sort of doubled up here in the clarinet, but I like this change of register. There was something about the color of having the clarinet down here and the flutes up there that made it interesting for me. So, tell you what, let me play a little bit of this, see what you think. Yeah, I like it. I think it really works. Something seems to be missing. I thought I had flute, sorry, yeah, piccolo doubling up on flute 1 here. I don't know where that went, or if that I just dreamt it. It's entirely possible. All right, so let's label four. I'm just going to scoot the forte back here. There we go. Good. Double bar line also needs to go in this case. I originally, again, had a key signature, a key change there. I think it was 5 flats. No, don't need it. It's only 4 measures, and many instruments aren't actually affected by those accidentals you see here in the flutes. So we don't need key signature there. All right, getting back to the flutes. Now you'll see here there's a page break. Okay, so when I'm dealing with a full score for the conductor, assuming that this is a that the page turn does actually lie here, it's possible that when I do several movements that this might be, let's say, the second movement, and maybe the page break ends up on the other side. Okay. So you run into that problem as well when you start to offer your suites as individual movements. Things like that need to be adjusted, because when I have a page turn, this is what I like to do. I like to remind the conductor that they are in fact dealing with A2 here. As a conductor, I hate having to turn back to the previous page to find an answer to something. So this is something I'm going to start adding. I'm going to start doing as I edit the work more. Okay. I have not seen examples of somebody, for instance, putting parentheses and a forte here. That'd be interesting. I think that'd be a little bit too busy. And I just haven't seen any examples of that in works. Okay, so I'm going to leave the second staff by itself for now. And I'm also going to consider, do I want this actually doubled up with the second flute? Not yet. Not yet. I might change my mind later. All right, we'll see here, moving along. See here all of this is played by both flutes. So again, I'm going to place an A2 here. I'm not using parentheses because previously this should actually just be 1 for now. Again, I said that will be something I'll reconsider. Okay. Flutter tongue here. Not expecting it to be too loud, but it should be interesting. Not only am I not expecting it to be too loud, it's entirely possible there are flutists that do not know how to do it. That's okay. It's just an effect. All right, flute 1 and 2 again, doing the exact same thing. I decided not to harmonize there. I have this line starting on F and also starting on C. And I originally had it started on A, but the A's weren't fitting with the nature of this sort of, I don't know, quasi-pentatonic feel, okay? So I moved all instances of A's and readjusted some of the notes and decided I would have essentially F and C be the starting pitches. But I want the flutes all doubled up and the piccolo being sounded at the octave for this main line, because this is really the main theme. The F is the tonic, if you will, but it's not the main line. Okay. Let's continue. Here's a piccolo solo, which I might have to rewrite out at some point. I'm not sure that's clear enough. And here, this will just be one. I might even make it solo flute. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to take it off. In fact, the clarinet has the exact same line. Oboe, exact same line. Here I'm going to say, because I'm dealing with oboe 1 and 2, I'm going to let them know it's a solo from first oboe, just to be really, really clear. I like to do that. I like to be really clear. And the first flute is solo. Okay. That means I'm going to change all of these to 1, 2. As you can see in Sibelius, it changes them all for you. Beginning, had to say flute 1, 2. Double check, make sure there's no extra music on that second line. Now, delete, yes, thank you. All right. Sorry if I'm scanning too fast here. All right. Okay. Added bass trombone, remove some timpani. I'm just checking my notes here, making sure I've tackled some of the issues I wanted to tackle. Yeah. So again, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on here. Originally, when I threw down these pedal tones, I originally just had them in the euphoniums. And I decided that I wanted to split it up between different families of instruments. So instead of the euphoniums starting off, I decided to give it to the clarinets, bass clarinet, and bassoons. And then they go off and do something a little more interesting with those notes. And then as you can see down here at 13, the euphoniums then join in. Later on, the saxes do the same thing. Again, I originally just dropped it down for euphoniums, but as I start to orchestrate, that's when you get to really be creative and come up with interesting ways to really just play one note, right? We're just playing one note, one pedal tone throughout the composition. But if you can stagger it through different families of instruments, the color changes and it makes the work much more interesting. So then the saxes do it. And then here at 23, the final instance, at least in this particular key, I have the muted trumpets, is it say muted? Should say muted. Yep, back here muted at 13. Wait, oh no, it does not. Never mind. Reconsider that. Open for now. The euphoniums, trumpets, saxes, and the bass clarinets and clarinet 2, 3, and bassoons are doing the material that they had earlier. So it was a much more interesting way to create a pedal tone. Okay. And as you can see here, I have the euphoniums starting at piano and then diminuendoing down to niente, to nothing. While on that same second beat, without the pickup, the clarinets start that note, niente, and then crescendo into piano. So to me, this would be something coloristically interesting. Yeah, I like it. The playback's a little bit loud in the bassoons. I'm going to make some adjustments while I'm at it. Just bring it down just a little bit. I might have to make some other adjustments, but okay. So to finish up this live video, first live video ever, kind of terrifying, but thank you for watching if you are. I'm going to just play this once through, and then that'll be it. So again, thanks for watching. If this goes well, I will do more of this. I think it's pretty fun. All right, this is a run-through of the Sibelius version, if you will, of Egyptian Queen from FRAZETTA Suite.